This book begins with a simple truth. People earn money in 4 different ways. Not all income is the same. Not all paths lead to freedom. Robert Kiyosaki explains this through the Cashflow Quadrant, a 4-part diagram that shows where your money comes from. The quadrants are shown clearly on page 31 of your book. They are E, employee, S, self-employed/specialist B, business owner, I, investor. Everyone operates from at least one of these quadrants. Your financial future depends on which quadrant you stay in. Some people live their entire life on the left side, the E and S side, working for money, trading time for money, and relying on a paycheck. Others move to the right side, the B and I side, where systems and investments work for them. The goal of this book is simple: help you move from the left side to the right side, from working for money to having money work for you. Chapter 1, Why Don't You Get a Job? Robert begins with a powerful story from 1985. He and his wife Kim were homeless. They had no jobs, no money, and lived in their old Toyota. Friends and family constantly asked, "Why don't you just get a job?" From the outside, getting a job looked like the smart choice. But they weren't after security. They wanted freedom, true financial independence. They had the degrees, skills, and ability to find high-paying work. But working for a paycheck wasn't their goal. Robert writes that the hardest part wasn't the poverty itself. It was the emotional pressure, fear, and moments of doubt. Yet by 1989, they became millionaires. By 1994, they were financially free. And they achieved this with no job, no paycheck, no guaranteed income. Robert emphasizes an unpopular truth. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes financial intelligence. He mentions examples of successful people with little formal education. Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, Henry Ford. None relied on traditional education. They built systems. This leads to the central question. If school doesn't prepare you for financial freedom, then what does? Robert's answer: a dream. A willingness to learn. The right mindset. The right quadrant. The quadrants explained. The Cashflow Quadrant is shown clearly in your PDF with the letters E, S on the left and B, I on the right. E, employee works for someone else, earns a paycheck. S, self-employed works for themselves, dentists, lawyers, consultants. If they don't work, they don't earn. B, business owner. Owns a system, other people run the business, you don't work in it, it works for you. I, investor, money works for you. Investments produce cash flow. The right side leads to financial freedom. The left side leads to working harder for life. Robert's father, poor dad, lived mainly in the E quadrant, valuing job security. Rich dad lived primarily in the B and I quadrants, valuing freedom. Robert learned the difference early. The water pipeline story. Rich dad explained the difference between the left and the right side through a simple village story. 2 men, Ed and Bill, are hired to bring water to a village. Ed's approach, E/S mindset, buys buckets, hauls water by hand, works harder each day, earns only when he works, hires his kids later, builds no leverage, exhausts himself. Bill's approach, B/I mindset, creates a business plan, raises money, builds a pipeline, supplies water 24/7, cuts costs, improves quality, expands to other villages. Doesn't need to work again, Ed works harder. Bill works smarter. Ed's income is limited by his time. Bill's income grows even when he's sleeping. Rich dad asked Robert, "Are you hauling buckets or building a pipeline?" This story represents the entire cash flow quadrant philosophy. Why this matters. Robert saw firsthand how the quadrant you choose shapes your life. His real father, the educated one, climbed the government ladder only to be fired from politics and forced into financial struggle later in life. His rich dad, with little formal education, became wealthier, freer, and happier as he aged. Robert realized small differences in thinking lead to massive differences over decades, and that's what motivated him to escape the left side forever. Chapter 2. Different quadrants, different people. Each quadrant attracts a different type of person, not because of skill, but because of values, beliefs, and mindset. Rich Dad taught Robert that people don't choose quadrants logically, they choose emotionally. Let's explore the mindset of each quadrant. The E quadrant: I want security, employees value, stability, predictable income benefits, structure a safe environment. Their identity revolves around I am my job. They seek reassurance, guarantees, and comfort. There's nothing wrong with being an employee, but the limitation is clear. You trade time for money. When you stop working, income stops. Employees often risk losing their job, instability. This fear keeps them on the left side, sometimes for life. The S quadrant: if I want it done right, I must do it myself. This quadrant includes doctors, lawyers, consultants, freelancers, specialists, small local business owners. They crave control. Their mindset is, I trust my own hands. I don't trust others to do the job right. This gives them higher income than employees, but a bigger problem. They own a job, not a business. If they don't work, nothing happens. Their trap is perfectionism, overworking, pride, and doing everything alone. Difficulty delegating. Rich Dad warned, self-employed people burn out because they try to be the smartest person in the room. The B quadrant: I want a system that works without me. Business owners think completely differently. Their values: leverage teams, leadership systems, duplication, scalability. They ask, how do I build something that runs without me? They don't want to be the smartest. They want to surround themselves with people smarter than them. A successful business owner eventually becomes unnecessary in daily operations. That's what makes the B quadrant the gateway to financial freedom. The I quadrant: let money work for me. Investors value cash flow returns, passive income assets, compounding patience. They look for opportunities where money grows on its own. Investors use real estate stocks, funds, ownership, royalties, businesses, ventures. They don't work for money, and money works for them. Rich Dad said investors don't need to be right all the time. They just need to be educated and consistent. The big idea of Chapter 2. Your life results come from the quadrant you operate in. Employees seek security, self-employed seek freedom and control. Business owners seek leverage and systems, investors seek passive wealth. Robert learned, if you don't like your results, change your quadrant. Chapter 3. Why people choose security over freedom. People don't stay employees because they're incapable. They stay because of fear. The two biggest fears: 1, fear of not having money. 2, fear of losing what they have. Fear controls most financial decisions. Schools rarely teach financial intelligence. Instead, they teach students to become good employees, good workers, good followers, obedient professionals. Society rewards compliance, not independence. That's why most people look for job security, promotions, salary raises, pensions, benefits. But these things come with a hidden price. You must trade freedom for stability. Rich Dad told Robert, security is the most expensive illusion in the world. The people who move to the right side value freedom more than comfort. They take educated risks. They learn constantly. They build courage through experience. Robert explains, poor dad chose security. Rich Dad chose freedom. I had to choose which father to follow. Chapter 4. The 3 kinds of business systems. Not all businesses are the same. Some drain you, some free you. Rich Dad explained that there are only 3 types of business systems. 1. Traditional businesses, you build it yourself. Examples: restaurants, local shops, service businesses, small offices. You need capital experience, planning, employees, management. This type is the hardest. Most fail within 5 years because the owner tries to do everything. 2. Franchises, you buy a system. McDonald's, KFC, Subway, you buy a proven system. Advantages: tested process, established brand training programs, marketing support, but it requires significant money to start. This is great for people who want a business, but don't know how to build systems. 3. Network marketing. You join a system. Many people look down on this, but Rich Dad explains it's affordable, it teaches sales, it teaches leadership, it teaches communication, it teaches duplication, it teaches systems. Network marketing is not about products. It's about learning skills the right side needs. Rich Dad said, it's not perfect, but it's a low-cost way to learn the skills of the B quadrant. Key message: you become financially free when you stop relying on your own labor and start relying on systems. Systems build wealth. Effort alone does not. Chapter 5, The 5 Levels of Investors. Rich Dad explained that not all investors are the same. There are 5 levels. Level 1, the zero financial literacy person. No savings, no assets, no plan, lives paycheck to paycheck, always victim of circumstances. Level 2, the saver saves money in the bank. But inflation eats the value. This is safe, but does not create wealth. Level 3, the smart shopper looks for deals, invests in sales, discounts, and low-risk products. Better than savers, but still not wealthy. Level 4, the long-term investor invests consistently in mutual funds, stocks, real estate, retirement accounts, understands compounding, has patience and discipline. Level 5, the capitalist investor, the rich, the top 1%, creates investments instead of buying them. They build businesses, own equity, invest in deals, create cash flow, use leverage, use other people's money, use tax advantages. This is where true wealth lives. Rich Dad told Robert, level 5 investors rule the financial world, and that is where the B and I quadrants merge. Chapter 6, To Be or Not to Be, expanded full audiobook version. Long, smooth storytelling plus business professional narration. This chapter marks a turning point in the book. Here, Rich Dad tells Robert the truth that most people never want to face. Financial freedom is not something you do. It's someone you become. People think wealth comes from working harder, getting a promotion, switching jobs, starting a business, buying investments. But Rich Dad explains that all of these are actions, and actions come from identity. If your identity remains the same, your results stay the same. The identity of the E and S quadrant. Rich Dad said, employees think in terms of security. Self-employed people think in terms of control. These identities lock them into working alone, fearing risk, needing guarantees, needing to be the smartest, protecting themselves, avoiding mistakes. You cannot escape the left side with the identity of the left side. A person stuck in employee mind will always look for a better supervisor, a better salary, better benefits, a safer environment, a predictable life. A person in self-employed mind will always look for control, perfection, personal pride, doing it alone, wanting credit, relying on personal ability. These identities are limits. They feel comfortable, but they block wealth. The identity of the B and I quadrant. Rich Dad explained the right side belongs to the people who reinvent themselves. Business owners and investors learn to trust systems, trust teams, trust numbers, trust processes, trust the future, trust education over guarantees. Their identity is built on growth, not safety. Where an employee thinks, I don't want to make a mistake. A business owner thinks, mistakes are tuition. What can I learn? Where a self-employed person thinks, nobody can do it as well as I can. An investor thinks, who can do this better than me? Where the middle-class person thinks, that's too risky. The wealthy person thinks, how do I manage this risk? This is the identity shift. Your identity dictates your cash flow. Rich Dad said, money will always match who you are. If you want more money, become more of the person who earns it. This means you don't become a business owner by opening a business. You become one by adopting the identity of a leader. You don't become an investor by buying stock. You become one by adopting the identity of someone who understands money. You don't become wealthy by earning more. You become wealthy by becoming a person who handles wealth. That identity shift requires humility, patience, courage, focus, wisdom, learning, emotional resilience. Money rewards who you are inside, not what you do outside. Breaking the old identity. Robert talks about how difficult it was to change his identity. He was raised by poor dad, a man who valued school, job security, and a traditional path. Poor dad's identity was, be safe, don't take risks, get a good job, work hard. Money is dangerous. Rich people are greedy. These beliefs created emotional habits in Robert. He carried guilt around wanting money, fear of failing, fear of looking foolish, fear of being judged, fear of leaving comfort. So he had to break the emotional inheritance. Rich Dad told him, "You cannot take your father's thinking into the right side of the quadrant. You must choose the father who leads you to freedom." Meaning, to move quadrants, you must change the internal voice that guides you. The pain of transformation. Identity change is uncomfortable. Robert describes sleepless nights, doubt, pressure, loneliness, confusion, criticism from others, emotional storms. Everyone says they want financial freedom, but when they feel the discomfort, most return to safety. Rich Dad said, and that is why only a few people ever move to the B&I side. It takes learning, mentoring, discipline, coaching, self-awareness, personal responsibility. Growth hurts at first, then it liberates you. The ego barrier. Rich Dad warns, the biggest enemy of becoming rich is not money, it is ego. The ego says, I already know this. I don't need help. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to fail. To shift quadrants, your ego must die before your new self can grow. This is the moment when a person either transforms or retreats forever. The ones who rise become free. The breakthrough. Acting before believing. Identity changes in reverse order. You don't become confident before taking action. You become confident by taking action. You don't become an investor before investing. You become an investor by learning and trying small deals. You don't become a leader before leading. You become one by practicing leadership. Rich Dad's rule, you act your way into becoming, not the other way around. This is the secret to moving quadrants. Chapter 7, Become Who You Need to Be. This chapter is about personal transformation, not the kind you post on social media, but the kind that rewires your inner foundation. Rich Dad told Robert, success is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by becoming a better version of yourself. The Cashflow Quadrant isn't really about money. It's about who you need to become to operate in each quadrant. If you remain the same person, you remain in the same quadrant. To move forward financially, you must move forward internally. Let's break down the internal shift required for the B and I side. The you on the left side and the you on the right side. Most people want the right side rewards. Freedom, passive income, control of time, financial independence, peace of mind. But they try to achieve these with left side behavior, such as fear of risk, fear of mistakes, need for guarantees, need for approval, avoiding discomfort, wanting to do everything alone, waiting for perfect timing. Rich Dad explained, your habits, mindset, emotions, and skills belong to a quadrant. To change quadrants, you must change you. 1. The shift from fear-based to strategy-based thinking. Employees and self-employed individuals often think, what if it goes wrong? What if I lose money? What will people say? This is fear-based thinking. Business owners and investors think, how can I minimize risk? What can I learn from this? Who can help me? Where's the opportunity? This is strategy-based thinking. The shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens through exposure, learning, and taking small risks repeatedly. Rich Dad said, every time you choose courage over fear, your quadrant shifts a little. 2. The shift from doing everything to building a team. Self-employed people burn out because they rely on themselves. The S quadrant identity says, if I don't do it, it won't be done right. The B quadrant identity says, I succeed because I build teams smarter than me. This was hard for Robert. He grew up watching his poor dad do everything alone, handle work, handle home, handle problems, handle stress. But the wealthy operate differently. They trust, train, delegate, and empower others. This identity shift takes humility. You must be willing to listen, learn, let people help you, allow others to be better than you. Stop trying to be the hero, become a leader, not a worker. Rich Dad told Robert, leaders don't need to be the smartest. They need to build an environment where smart people thrive. 3. The shift from instant gratification to long-term vision. The middle class wants results quickly. Quick promotions, quick raises, quick returns, quick comfort, quick purchases. The wealthy play the long game. building pipelines, building assets, building systems, building teams, building compounding investments. They sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term freedom. Robert learned that each choice is a vote. Buy a new gadget, vote for comfort, invest in an asset, vote for freedom. People who stay on the left side choose instant gratification repeatedly. People on the right side are willing to delay reward. Rich Dad said, "Your future wealth is built by what you delay today." 4. The shift from seeking approval to seeking growth. This is one of the hardest things people face. Employees often fear disappointing others, being judged looking foolish, losing approval, stepping outside the norm. If you want financial freedom, you must break this. Rich Dad warned, most people stay in the E and S quadrants because they care too much about what others think. He taught Robert to accept criticism, misunderstanding, solitude, judgment, doubt from others, discomfort of being different. The wealthy are often criticized, misunderstood, and envied, but they aren't stopped by it. 5. The shift from a can't mind to a how can I mind. Your language reveals your quadrant. Poor Dad often said, "I can't afford it, and that's too risky." "I don't know how." Rich Dad taught Robert to rewire his words. "How can I afford it? How can I reduce the risk? Who knows how to do this? What can I learn from this? How can I make this work?" This shift opens the mind. The mind becomes a tool for solutions, not fear. 6. The shift from working hard to working intelligently. The poor and middle class see effort as success. The wealthy see results as success. Rich Dad said, working harder doesn't make you rich. Working smarter, thinking bigger, and building systems does. Employees and self-employed people often value effort hours, hustle, busyness. The wealthy value leverage, decisions, ownership, strategy, thinking time. Being busy is not progress. Being productive is. 7. The internal battle, old you versus new. Robert describes the emotional battle inside him. One voice said, "Be safe." The other voice said, "Take a chance." One voice said, "Listen to your father." The other said, "Listen to Rich Dad." One voice said, "Get a job." The other said, "Build a business." Everyone has this internal fight. Your old identity tries to pull you back. Your new identity tries to grow. The question is, which voice will win? Rich Dad said, you become wealthy the moment your new identity becomes stronger than your old one. 8. The power of personal development. Rich Dad believed that personal development, not money, is the foundation of wealth. He made Robert read constantly, take courses, attend seminars, study great leaders, practice selling, practice speaking, practice leadership, practice investing, confront fear, track emotions, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Every skill he gained became a tool. Every emotional breakthrough became a weapon. Rich Dad told him, a business grows only as much as its owner grows. If you stay small inside, your money will stay small too. This is why he emphasized identity shift above all. The transformation summary. To move from the ES side to the BI side, you must transform. Old identity, left side, new identity, right side, fear-based thinking, strategic thinking, doing it alone, building teams, instant gratification, long-term vision approval, seeking growth, seeking I can't, mindset, how can I? Mindset, working harder, working smarter, ego-driven, learner-driven. Rich Dad said, the right side is not earned by money. It is earned by maturity. Chapter 8, The Power of Your Mind. This chapter reveals one of the deepest principles in financial success. Your mind is your greatest asset. If you do not train it, money will control you instead of serving you. Every person has two minds fighting inside them. One mind that creates wealth, one mind that destroys opportunity. Rich Dad told Robert that financial freedom is not about money first. It's about mental strength, mental awareness, and mental discipline. Let's break down the mental transformation required to operate on the B and I side of the quadrant. 1. Your mind creates your reality. Robert asked Rich Dad, why do some people become rich easily while others struggle all their lives? Rich Dad answered, because wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the wallet. If your mind is fearful, doubtful, negative, closed, limited, insecure, then no amount of opportunities will help you. You will sabotage yourself. The opposite is also true. If your mind is hopeful, strategic, curious, courageous, humble, focused, then even small opportunities will grow into big successes. Your mind is the architect of your financial future. 2. The world you see depends on the mind you have. Two people can see the same opportunity, but interpret it in opposite ways. The person in the E quadrant sees danger, risk, uncertainty, pressure, fear of losing stability. The person in the B or I quadrant sees potential leverage, cash flow, long-term gain skills to be learned. Nothing outside changes. Only the mind changes. Rich Dad said, "Where the poor see problems, the rich see possibilities." This is why training the mind is more valuable than training for a job. 3. The mind must be stretched or it shrinks. The mind has only two settings: expand, contract. Employees are mentally trained to contract. Follow instructions, avoid mistakes, maintain order, please the boss, follow the system, stay within boundaries. This leads to a narrow way of thinking. The wealthy train their mind to expand, solve problems, create solutions, take risks, explore ideas, build networks, innovate, think independently. A mind that expands never goes back to its small form. 4. The poor dad versus rich dad mindset difference. Poor dad believed knowledge comes from school. Success comes from good grades. Jobs are safe. Mistakes are dangerous. Money is risky. Rich dad believed knowledge comes from experience. Success comes from courage. Jobs are temporary. Mistakes are opportunities. Are learning. Money is a tool. One mindset builds employees. The other builds entrepreneurs and investors. 5. Your mind is a magnet. It attracts or rejects money. Rich Dad explained that money flows toward certain types of people. People who are bold, confident, educated, aware, curious, disciplined, persistent. Money avoids people who are fearful, emotional, easily discouraged, cynical, negative, close-minded. This is why many people with high income still stay broke, and why some people with ordinary income become millionaires. It is not income, it is mind. 6. How to train your mind for the B and I. Quadrant rich. Dad gave Robert mental exercises, not physical ones, to build the mindset of a wealthy person. These exercises included reading business, sales, and investment books, listening to mentors, taking courses, practicing selling, practicing public speaking, building leadership, making small investments, falling and learning from mistakes, spending time with people smarter than you. Reflecting on emotions around money, Rich Dad said, the mind expands through challenge and shrinks through comfort. This is why people who stay comfortable never grow financially. 7. The emotional mind versus the logical mind. Most people use their emotional mind when dealing with money. That mind says fear, doubt, insecurity, panic, impulsiveness, comparing with others, desire for safety. Investors use their logical mind. Analysis, calculation, planning, patience, strategic thinking, long-term vision. Your emotional mind will always try to pull you back to the left quadrant. Your logical mind will always try to move you forward into freedom. You must learn to choose the right voice. 8. Training your mind to see money, opportunities. Finance is like fitness. If you don't train your financial brain, you don't see deals, you don't understand value. You can't judge risk, you can't negotiate. You can't spot trends, you can't generate ideas, you don't trust yourself. Training the mind consistently makes you sharper, calmer, braver, more aware, more capable. Then opportunities begin appearing everywhere, and money begins to follow your decisions. 9. The mind can make you rich or keep you broke. Rich Dad said something powerful. A poor person can win the lottery and still stay poor. But a rich-minded person can lose everything and rebuild. That's the difference. Wealth is not what you have, it's what you know and who you are. This chapter teaches if you build the mind, money will come. If you ignore the mind, money will run. Chapter 9. How to get rich slowly and steadily. Rich Dad always told Robert, getting rich is not a race. It is a long walk in the right direction. People think the rich get wealthy fast, but the truth is real wealth grows. Slowly, grows quietly, grows through disciplined actions, grows through boring habits, grows as your mind grows. The overnight success story is often years of invisible effort. This chapter explains the real path to long-term wealth and why it's more practical and attainable than people believe. 1. Wealth is not built in a straight line. People imagine success like this, a smooth upward line, day by day improving. But in reality, it looks like this. Small gains, drops, mistakes. Learning, rebuilding, small gains again. Big jumps, plateaus, more mistakes. Another big jump, Rich Dad told Robert. 2. Small steps make big impact. Rich Dad taught Robert that people overestimate what they can do in a week, but underestimate what they can do in a year, and massively underestimate what they can do in 10 years. The wealthy win because they think long-term. They don't chase trends, hype, shortcuts, quick money, instant results. Instead, they focus on buying assets, putting money to work, reinvesting gains, reducing liabilities, building pipelines, improving skills, strengthening their mind. These small steps compound. This is the key word, compounding. 3. The magic of compounding. Einstein famously said, "Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world." Rich Dad explained compounding like this. Even a small snowball becomes huge if it keeps rolling. In financial terms, $10 invested correctly becomes $20, $20 reinvested, becomes $40, $40 reinvested, becomes $80, $80 reinvested, becomes $160, and so on. The small investments grow into huge ones because the gains create more gains. Poor people break compounding by selling early, being impatient, stopping investments, withdrawing money, quitting being emotional, buying liabilities, giving up when a mistake happens. The wealthy protect compounding like a sacred law. 4. The real difference between poor, middle class, and rich. Poor people want relief, quick rewards, the feeling of progress, temporary pleasure. Middle class people want security, predictable income, stable salaries, comfortable lifestyle. Rich people value freedom, long-term growth, sacrificing today for tomorrow investments, over comfort learning, over entertainment. The rich keep building their asset column even when nothing seems to be changing, because they know. Slow growth eventually becomes explosive growth. 5. Why fast money is dangerous. Most people fail financially because they chase lottery gambling, risky trades, viral business ideas, get rich, quick schemes, excitement shortcuts, unrealistic returns. Rich Dad taught Robert, when you chase fast money, money runs away. When you grow slowly and wisely, money comes to you. Fast money destroys discipline, patience, decision-making, mental strength. It makes people emotional, and emotional people lose money. 6. Take small, smart risks, not big, blind risks. Rich Dad said, you don't need to risk everything, you just need to risk something. Most people think investing means gambling, but in reality, gambling equals acting without knowledge. Investing equals acting because of knowledge. Smart risks include buying your first small rental, investing $50 into an index fund, starting a tiny online business, improving your financial education, starting a side hustle, cutting expenses and investing the difference, reading 30 minutes daily, taking a course, testing one idea, attending seminars. Each small risk expands your mindset. Each small risk builds confidence. Each small risk moves you further to the right side. 7. The power of boring habits. Rich Dad taught Robert, the habits that make you rich are simple, so simple most people ignore them. These boring habits include reviewing finances weekly, investing consistently, learning monthly budgeting, saving before spending, buying assets. Before luxuries, tracking cash flow, paying yourself first, building credit responsibly. These habits don't feel exciting. They don't give instant gratification, but they create financial transformation. Poor Dad told Robert, why work so hard to manage money? Rich Dad replied, because money left unmanaged runs away. 8. Build pipelines, not buckets. This connects back to the story in Chapter 1, the man carrying buckets versus the man building a pipeline. Carrying buckets equals quick money. Building pipelines equals long-term money. Pipeline examples: rental property, YouTube channel, digital product online business licensing rights, franchise dividend portfolio, side business real estate syndication, automated e-commerce intellectual property royalties. Pipelines require effort to build, but once built, they keep delivering. You don't get rich from a paycheck, you get rich from a pipeline. 9. The secret to long-term wealth. Consistency. People overcomplicate wealth, but Rich Dad boiled it down to this: consistently buy assets, consistently grow your mind, consistently improve your skills. Consistency beats intensity. Consistency beats luck. Consistency beats talent. Each day you make one small step. Read, invest, learn, improve, build, plan, stay disciplined. You are strengthening the wealth building machine inside you. Over years, this machine becomes unstoppable. 10. The final message of Chapter 9. Wealth is not fast. Wealth is not dramatic. Wealth is not a straight line. Wealth is not emotional. Wealth is slow, patient, logical, strategic, repetitive, stable, disciplined, intelligent, predictable. Rich Dad said, people don't fail because it's hard. They fail because they quit too soon. Chapter 10. 10 Steps to Move to the Right Side. This is one of the most important chapters in the entire book because it gives the action plan, the roadmap, the step-by-step system that anyone can follow to move from. Employee, E, self-employed, S, 2, business owner, B, investor, I. Rich Dad always said, success is built on simple steps repeated consistently. Not shortcuts, not luck, not talent, steps. Here are the 10 steps exactly as Robert learned them, but rewritten in your professional plus simple storytelling style, expanded for clarity and full audiobook length. Step 1. Find a strong reason, your why. The journey to wealth is not easy. There will be fear, doubt, pressure, setbacks, boredom, confusion, criticism, and moments when you want to quit. Without a powerful reason, you will quit. A real why gives you emotional fuel. Examples of strong reasons: I want financial freedom for my family. I want to control my time. I refuse to live paycheck to paycheck. I want to retire early. I want to build wealth for my children. I'm tired of watching others succeed while I stay stuck. A strong why pulls you forward, even when you don't feel like it. People without a why return to the left side. People with a why stay committed. Step 2. Make daily choices that match your future. Rich Dad said, your life doesn't change in a day. It changes in the choices you make daily. Employees make choices for comfort. Entrepreneurs make choices for growth. Examples of small choices that build wealth: reading 10 pages a day, investing before spending, saying no to liabilities, starting a small side hustle, listening to financial audio content, learning one new skill per month, surrounding yourself with positive people, controlling your emotions, tracking your money. These choices look small, but small choices shape your identity. Your identity shapes your actions. Your actions shape your quadrant. Step 3, choose your friends wisely. This step is more powerful than most people realize. Why? Because you become like the people you listen to. Employees talk like employees. Investors talk like investors. Entrepreneurs talk like entrepreneurs. Rich Dad told Robert, your income will match the average income of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So surround yourself with business-minded people, investors, people who take calculated risks, positive thinkers, problem solvers, long-term thinkers. Avoid spending too much time with complainers, gossipers, people who fear everything, people who think small people who only want comfort, people who mock ambition. The right circle pushes you forward. The wrong circle pulls you backward. Step 4, learn a single money skill and master it. Most people try to learn everything: crypto, stocks, real estate, day trading, marketing, sales, business, e-commerce, design, coding. Rich Dad said that trying everything leads to nothing. Instead, pick one wealth skill. Learn it deeply, get good at it, then scale it. Example: sales changes your income forever. Real estate builds cash flow. Leadership builds teams. Marketing grows businesses. Negotiation saves and earns money. Investing multiplies wealth. When you master one skill, you naturally grow into the right side of the quadrant. Step 5. Pay yourself first. This is the hardest habit for employees and the middle class. They pay. Taxes, bills, mortgage, credit cards, expenses, lifestyle. Then they save what's left, usually nothing. The rich do the opposite. They first put money into investments, savings, assets, business building, and then they live on what's left. This forces discipline. This forces creativity. This forces growth. Rich Dad said, paying yourself first is a statement that you believe in your future. Step 6, pay your advisors well. Small thinkers say, I don't want to pay for help. Wealthy thinkers say, I want the best people guiding me. You need accountants, attorneys, advisors, mentors, coaches, specialists, tax experts. Good advice makes you money. Bad advice costs you money. No advice destroys money. People on the left side hate paying professionals. People on the right side know it's a shortcut to success. Step 7, be an investor. First, not a consumer. Most people buy liabilities, upgrade lifestyle, buy new phones, buy new cars, pay interest, consume more than they invest. Investors do the opposite. They make money before spending it. They use dividends, cash flow, rental income, business profits, investment returns to pay for luxuries. Rich Dad's rule, buy luxuries with investment income, not wages. When you follow this rule, your wealth grows automatically. 9. What this means for entrepreneurs. To avoid the lottery mindset, founders must choose a clear long-term goal. What will your company look like in 10 years? Build a plan. Not hope, planning. Work on one thing intensely. Focus beats diversification. Develop rare and deep knowledge. Mastery creates defensibility. Believe your actions matter. Luck is not a strategy. This mindset shift transforms ordinary founders into world-changing builders. Closing narration. For Chapter 6, you are not a lottery ticket is more than a statement. It is a philosophy. The world pushes you toward randomness, random careers, random paths, random ambitions. But entrepreneurship requires certainty. Great founders don't wait for luck. They define a future only they can see, and then build it step by step until it becomes inevitable. Success is not drawn from a lottery machine, it is engineered. And those who adopt definite thinking are the ones who move the world from 0 to 1. Chapter 7, Follow the Money. Chapter 7 highlights one of the least discussed truths in business. Money flows unevenly. It concentrates, accumulates, and magnifies around a very small number of companies. Book states that in a truly innovative economy, a handful of businesses create the majority of economic value, while thousands of others contribute almost nothing. This chapter helps us understand why that happens, why it matters, and how entrepreneurs must think about value creation if they want to build a company that survives. 1. The power law. Not all. Companies are equal. The most important idea of Chapter 7 is the power law. Book explains that returns in venture capital and in business in general do not follow a normal distribution. They follow a power distribution. This means a few companies create massive success. Most companies create mediocre or zero returns. Average rarely exists in startups. In simpler terms, one exceptional company is more valuable than 500 average companies. This is why investors obsess over finding the next Google, not the next pretty good business. And this is why founders must aim for significance, not adequacy. 2. Failure is common, big wins are rare. Book gives a strong reminder. Most startups fail, a few survive, and only a tiny number succeed dramatically. The distribution looks like this. 80% fail completely, 15% survive but don't create meaningful value, 4% produce moderate returns, 1% create enormous value. This is why Thiel says founders must think differently. Don't aim to be average, aim to be that 1% that changes everything. 3. Why founders must understand the power. Law Book emphasizes that misunderstanding the power law leads to 3 big mistakes. Mistake number 1, spreading your effort too thin. Trying to pursue many ideas at once guarantees none of them become exceptional. Mistake number 2, focusing on safe ideas. Safe ideas rarely produce exponential results. Mistake number 3, copying others. Competitive markets rarely produce power law outcomes. The companies that win big are those that dominate a narrow niche and then expand. This is the same principle we saw in earlier chapters. 4. Venture capital examples, where the big money actually comes from, cites the example of venture capital firms. Most of their funds returns come from 1 or 2 companies, not from the full portfolio. For example, if a VC invests in 20 startups, 1 startup may return 100 times. 2 to 3 startups may return 3 times to 10 times. 10 startups may return 1 time, break even. 6 to 7 startups may fail completely. This means 1 extraordinary success pays for every failure and produces all the profits. That is the power law in action. 5. Why this matters for founders. Too many entrepreneurs think, if my company grows steadily, it's good. If I reach profitability, that's enough. If customers like the product, the business will be fine. But Chapter 7 teaches a harder truth. If your company cannot someday become the best in its category, it may not be worth building at all. This doesn't mean every business must be global, but every startup must have a unique insight, a path to monopoly, a scalable model, long-term exponential potential. Otherwise, it becomes another average company in a crowded market. 6. 5. Building emotional intelligence is more important than financial intelligence. Rich Dad told Robert, money flows to people who can manage their emotions. Emotions kill more dreams than lack of skills. The emotions you must control include fear, pride, anger, greed, envy, doubt, impatience. Every emotional reaction reveals your quadrant. For example, employee mindset says, I need a guarantee before I act. Entrepreneur mindset says, I'll act and solve problems as they come. Investor mindset says, fear is normal. Numbers guide me. Self-employed mindset often says, what if no one hires me? Rich Dad taught, the highest paying skill is the ability to manage your emotions. 6. Don't let temporary setbacks become permanent limits. Robert shares story after story of people who quit early. Someone tried real estate once, had a bad tenant, quit forever. Someone invested a little, lost a little, never invested again. Someone tried a business, didn't take off fast, gave up, someone lost confidence, returned to job security, someone heard criticism, stopped taking risks. Rich Dad said, you didn't fail, you just met part of the process. Setbacks are not signals to stop, they are signals to adjust. The wealthy adjust, the poor avoid. 7. I can't afford it, vs. How can I afford it? Poor Dad often said, I can't afford it. Rich Dad hated that sentence. He banned Robert from saying it because it shuts down the mind. Instead, he trained Robert to ask, how can I afford it? How can I learn this? How can I reduce the risk? How can I solve this? How can I recover from this loss? How can I improve? These questions activate creativity, problem-solving, resourcefulness, courage, opportunity seeking. The wealthy don't avoid problems, they solve them. 8. The secret, fear doesn't go away. You outgrow it. Rich Dad told Robert, fear is like a muscle. If you train it, you become stronger. If you avoid it, it becomes your master. Every small risk makes you braver. Every small investment makes you wiser. Every small mistake makes you smarter. Weak people avoid fear. Strong people confront it. And the wealthy are simply people who train themselves to keep walking even when afraid. 9. You don't need to be brave. You need to be consistent. Most people think wealth requires massive courage, massive intelligence, massive talent. But Rich Dad explained, no, wealth requires consistency. Consistency in learning, investing, self-improvement, taking small risks, building cash flow, reducing debt, staying patient. Courage comes and goes. Consistency stays. And consistency creates wealth. 10. The great truth. Fear protects the poor, but imprisons them. Poor Dad believed fear keeps you safe. Rich Dad believed fear keeps you trapped. Fear prevents innovation, creativity, leadership, independence, opportunity, wealth, transformation, growth. Most people protect themselves into poverty, protect from loss, protect from risk, protect from embarrassment, protect from failure, protect from uncertainty. But protecting yourself from life protects you from success. The final message of Chapter 11: everyone has fear, but poor people let fear stop them. Middle-class people let fear control them. The wealthy let fear prepare them. Rich Dad said, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of fear. To get to the right side of the quadrant, you must conquer yourself. Money isn't the real battlefield. Your mind is. Chapter 12: The Final Transformation. This is the chapter where everything comes together. This is not about money anymore, not about assets, not about cash flow, not about business structures. This final chapter is about something deeper: the rebirth of your identity, the transformation from who you were into who you can become. This chapter explains the emotional and spiritual shift required to permanently move from the left side, E and S, to the right side, B and I. Not temporarily, not partially, permanently. Rich Dad told Robert, "You will never be free until you let the old you die." This chapter is the death of the old mindset and the birth of the wealthy, independent, strategic thinker inside you. Let's walk through this final transformation. 1. You don't move quadrants. You evolve into a new person. Most people think changing quadrants is an external change. New job, new business, new investment, new opportunity, new financial situation. But Rich Dad explained the truth. You change quadrants when your identity upgrades. You can move jobs. You can start a business. You can invest a little. But if you do it with an employee mindset, you will fail and run back to safety. This is why most people try entrepreneurship once and quit forever. They carried their old identity into the right side, and the right side rejected them. The quadrant requires a new version of you. 2. The old identity holds you hostage. The old you is shaped by your school system, your parents, society, fear, trauma, culture, insecurity, habits, limiting beliefs. Examples of old identity thoughts: I need a stable job. I can't take risks. I don't want to look stupid. I'm not good with money. What if I fail? People will judge me. I need approval. I can't afford to lose anything. Rich people are greedy. These thoughts built your original quadrant. To enter the B and I quadrant, these beliefs must be removed, slowly, sometimes painfully, but completely. Rich Dad said, you must outgrow your old life for the new one to begin. 3. The emotional phases of transformation. Rich Dad explained that transformation is not logical, it is emotional. You will go through phase 1, confusion, why does this feel so uncomfortable? Phase 2, doubt, what if I'm wrong? Phase 3, fear, what if I fail? Phase 4, resistance, this is too hard. Phase 5, realization, I'm growing. Phase 6, breakthrough, I can do this. Phase 7, identity shift, this is who I am now. Most people quit during phase 1, 2, 3, or 4. Only a few reach phase 7. Those few become wealthy, not because they are smarter, but because they didn't quit. 4. The world around you changes when the world inside you changes. Rich Dad told Robert, when you change internally, you attract external opportunities. Opportunities were always there, but your old identity couldn't see them. Once you shift, people approach you differently. Business chances appear, mentors respect you, financial situations improve, relationships grow, confidence rises, clarity increases, creativity explodes, decisions become easier. This is not luck. This is alignment. The world matches your new identity. 5. You become stronger than your excuses. Excuses are a product of your old identity. I don't have time. I don't have money. I'm too tired. I don't know how. These excuses fall away when your purpose becomes stronger than your fear. You begin thinking like a business owner and investor. How can I make time? How can I find the money? How can I get help? How can I learn this? How can I start small? How can I reduce the risk? The wealthy don't have fewer obstacles. They have fewer excuses. They replace excuses with strategies. 6. You will lose people and gain new ones. This is one of the hardest truths. When you grow, some friends won't understand you, some family will criticize you, some colleagues will laugh, some people will distance themselves, some relationships will fade. People who fear change fear people who change. But transformation also brings new mentors, supportive communities, wealth-minded friends, growth-oriented partners, powerful networks. You don't just change quadrants, you change environments. 7. Your new identity operates in abundance, not scarcity. The poor and middle class think, there isn't enough. I must hold on to what I have. Life is unfair. I can't risk anything. Someone else's success means my loss. The wealthy think, there is unlimited opportunity. There is enough for everyone. Money flows to value. If I lose, I'll rebuild. I can help others become wealthy too. Scarcity mindset locks you in the E and S quadrants. Abundance mindset lifts you into B and I. 8. Freedom becomes more important than comfort. People choose the left side because they prioritize comfort. Comfortable job, comfortable schedule, comfortable lifestyle, comfortable fear, comfortable habits. But comfort kills potential. Rich Dad said, comfort is the enemy of growth. If you want freedom, let go of comfort first. People on the right side willingly choose temporary discomfort, temporary uncertainty, temporary instability for permanent freedom. Employees choose comfort today for struggle tomorrow. Entrepreneurs choose struggle today for freedom tomorrow. 9. True. Freedom comes from responsibility, not escape. People think freedom means quitting their job, avoiding responsibility, doing whatever they want, having no pressure. But Rich Dad taught Robert, freedom is not the absence of responsibility. Freedom is the result of taking full responsibility for your life. Employees blame their boss, the economy, inflation, the government, their parents, their job, their circumstances. Entrepreneurs take ownership, their money, their decisions, their mistakes, their growth, their future. Freedom is built on ownership. 10. The final shift from working for money to making money work for you. The ultimate transformation is this. You stop trading time for money. You start building systems and assets. You stop relying on a paycheck. You start creating cash flow. You stop living reactively. You start living intentionally. This shift is not external. It happens internally first. The moment you realize my money is an employee, my assets are my workers, my systems make money while I sleep. You have crossed the invisible bridge from the left side to the right side. This is financial freedom. The final message of the book. Rich Dad told Robert, you are only one decision away from a completely different life. Not a decision to invest, quit your job, start a business, but the decision to become the person who belongs on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. Once you become that person internally, your external reality will follow automatically. This is the heart of the transformation.